As Sid Kagenou sat on a train, seated beside his beloved girlfriend, Princess Alexia, as they made their way to the northern kingdom of Lindworm, he took time to reflect on all the lessons that he had learned in his past life, especially in history class. There was always something that stuck out to him. It was a conversation about the Crusades, and how, more often than not, most of the time, the Crusades didn't involve the fighting, the plunder, the chaos, all of that contingency over the Holy Land and who got what. No, it was all about the planning. Yes, sometimes crusades could take years to get off the ground, and for Kagenou, he started to ponder on that himself. Here he was, trying to lead some sort of revolution against an evil dictatorship of rogue heroes, and yet he found himself doing the most tedious of things. Of course, he knew that someday this great climactic final battle was going to occur. He had played that situation over in his mind at least 1,000,000 times, always envisioning the different possibilities, the different outcomes. And all of them weren't just of situations where he won. No, he thought about what would happen if he lost. He thought about how he could lose. He thought about every possible scenario he could be placed in. He thought about the different league members who could potentially kill him. He thought about the different locations they could fight at. He thought about every possible scenario when facing the league. And yet it always came to the same outcome. Simply put, no matter how many possibilities there were, he'd only get to live through one. There would only be one encounter, one final battle that would take place. He could think about every which way it could occur at every point in time. But ultimately, he could only get one chance. There were no other methods he could think to revive himself. If he truly died, that would be the end of it. So much so that Kagenou had even taken precautionary measures with Shadow Garden, much to the chagrin and the dismay of those that followed him. Especially Alpha. Alpha was as devoted and as loyal as anyone could be. In fact, he still remembered the huff she threw when he told her and everyone else his plans. It was about right before everyone had dispersed for the next 2.5 years to do their own thing in their private investigations. He sat down the 7 members of Shadow Garden, and he made his wishes crystal clear. If the event were to ever happen where he were to be killed, and by killed, he meant killed in the permanent way, that the only chances of him even coming back was if they had to go through convoluted methods just to bring him forth. His wishes were that Shadow Garden were to disband, that they were to carry on with their lives and simply survive. Of course, no one in Shadow Garden actually wanted to do that. Even if Kagenou were to die, they were prepared to go to the ends of the earth to bring him back. They were prepared to go to any lengths to continue the war. But for Kagenou, this was his fight. He started it. They came along willingly, but the League were not their enemies. Of course, he couldn't stop them, but he would feel a lot more at ease knowing that they would be safe. Kagenou had it very clear in his mind. If they were going to lose, if the possibility of defeat were ever on the table, only one life would be given. That was his. The training that he drilled into Shadow Garden were more so than just to make them capable warriors, capable spies, capable in the field of life. He made sure he gave them all the tools to survive. In the event of his death, all the funds they had accumulated, or whatever was left of them, would be distributed evenly. Everyone would have a chance to start over. Of course, Kagenou still had no plans of failure. He had to acknowledge it, and even that was a tough pill to swallow. But he wanted to keep all of his bases covered. With that being said, when Alpha told him to meet in the country of Lindworm, he figured that it had to be urgent, seeing as how she were last minute when it came to calling him. It wasn't like her. Normally, she'd come to him, but no, she was requesting backup. It only made him question even more what the situation could be. But that was just one of the many things that were preoccupying him. There was also Princess Rose who had caught his attention, or rather he catching hers. Yes, she'd taken a few of his gestures a bit out of context, and now, despite already being in a committed relationship, she was going above and beyond to try to woo him, so much so that he was an invited guest to this goddess trial along with Princess Alexia. Although for Alexia, she was going for her own reasons. The Archbishop of the Faith, Archbishop Drake, had been murdered recently, and an investigation was going to unfold. Also, the southern kingdom of Thanagar, after an 18-month war with the country of Midgar, and specifically the Justice League, had finally entered into terms of surrender. As you could guess, things were finally wrapping up, and even after the reveal of Shadow Garden and DeathStroke, the big blue Boy Scout, or black and white as he was these days, still didn't think it necessary for him to return. In fact, he had actually called for his daughter and for her friend Jessica. A little more information about the two of them. Laura Lane Kent, the daughter of Clark Kal-El Kent, and of Lois, formerly Lane Kent, who ran her own newspaper in the province of Metropolis. Yes, Laura was the combination of her mother and father in many ways. Her mother's tenacity and quick wit, along with the natural strength and power that her father possessed. Unlike her father, Laura had an affinity for magic. It was something that must have come from her mother's side, although she hardly used it, though she were capable. Instead, she chose to focus on her natural God-given abilities that came from her being part Kryptonian, the last of a race long since lost to the stars of time. And then, of course, Jessica Cruz, her close childhood friend. Jessica came from the province of Oa, home formerly to the Green Lantern Corps, who, through the course of the Great War long ago, had to be joined by their rivals, the Yellow Lanterns, who were then known as the Sinestro Corps. Throughout the course of the war itself, it caused a divide. There were the Green Lanterns who swore to never work alongside the Yellows, and because of the state of emergency, Midgard ordered for both sections to get along. And there were even many in the Green Lantern Corps that defected to the Sinestro Corps, including Hal Jordan. Of course, for Hal, he thought he was doing what was best for the country, but there were some that didn't feel the same. In the midst of the fighting and the civil war that broke out as a result, resulting in the death of his close friend, John Stewart, well, safe to say, the Green Lanterns quickly went from ally to foe, with many of them going into hiding, leading to one of the many rebellions that Midgard had to deal with. Although the Green Lanterns were viewed as more of a nuisance than anything else, something that the Yellow Lanterns were in charge of dealing with. Although for a Yellow Lantern, whenever they did catch a Green Lantern rebel, safe to say that Green Lantern had a hell of a time. There was no trial, no decency, no code of conduct. They were shipped off to some prison long far away, and you never heard from them again. For those who remained on the run, including the rebel leader, Guy Gardner, it was safe to say that the Lantern Corps had seen better days. But as for Jessica in question, her father had actually served as a Green Lantern before defecting to the Yellows. So, being raised up in that lifestyle, Jessica took greatly to using the Yellow Lantern ring. And just like her father, in fact even more so, from a young age, Jessica learned very quickly not just to absorb fear, but to instill it. It was natural to her. And she had this sweet personality also. She had a way of being calming, assuring, which produced the worst kind of fear. If you really want to know what's scary, imagine looking into the face of a cute girl as she tortures you in the most sadistic way possible. Now imagine watching her do that to someone else, all while keeping up that same warm smile. A smile that under normal circumstances you think you can trust, but every time you see it, you know the truth. When she's smiling, that's when you know you've messed up. You'd be better off if she scowled at you 24/7. In fact, for many boys, they preferred it that way. Because nothing was scarier than when you made Jessica smile. Because if Jessica was smiling, oh, trust and believe, you weren't going to be. After the defeat of the southern kingdom of Thanagar, Superman would be overseeing the transition from war to peacetime, as Thanagar was now brought into the collective of the Midgar Alliance. Because of this, he wanted his daughter to be in attendance, and wanting to bring her +1, she decided to bring Jessica along for the ride. So, thankfully enough, they wouldn't be around Lindworm anytime soon. Although, as Kagenou would learn, 2 members of the League were going to be in attendance for the Goddess trial. Diana, the Wonder Woman, and Thomas Wayne Jr., the Owl Man. And along with them, their +1s. For Diana, she was bringing Cassandra, her protege, and member of the 12 Knights of Round, Wonder Girl. And as for Thomas Wayne Jr., he was bringing along his niece, and also member of the 12 Knights of Round, the Huntress, Helena Wayne. Of course, they wouldn't be the only member of the 12 Knights of Round in attendance. Iris Midgar would also be attending the Goddess trial, along with a few others she would be bringing. Her +2s, in the form of Terra and Gar, aka Beast Boy. Safe to say, as far as that relationship was pending, with Terra being one of the newest members of the 12 Knights of Round, everyone was trying to make her feel welcome, but none more so than Gar. As far as Kagenou could tell, Gar, or Garfield for short, also known by his hero name as the Beast Boy of Midgar, he wasn't like most others when it came to being a hero. He had a warm and genuine appeal. A really nice guy. Nothing wrong that you could ever really say about him. Sure, he had his immaturity factors at times, but he was a capable fighter and warrior with a unique skill. The ability to transform into any animal. And not just a regular kind either. No, he could turn into any mystical beast that was in existence. And with many types of flying and magical creatures in this world, the possibilities for him were absolutely endless. And of course, Gar had taken a liking to Terra. There was just something about her that he found to be more appealing than anything else. Perhaps it was because she was the only one that laughed at his jokes, the only one that gave him any real attention that didn't seem faked or forced, and the two of them just seemed to have a natural bond with one another. As for Kagenou, he would be attending along with Alexia, and for Alexia, well, she didn't take too kindly to Rose butting in, always trying to appeal to her Kagenou. Funny, here Sid thought that he was going to be a background guy, and now women were vying for his attention. Perhaps it was unluck or something along those lines, because for whatever reason, trying to be average, ordinary, and entirely unappealing seemed to attract the finest of women. It was a strange conundrum. But whatever it was, he was already spoken for. And in the meantime, Alexia had her own misgivings. The reason why she was attending for the guy's trial wasn't for her participation, but actually it was to assist her older sister. When it came to the matter of the dead archbishop, Alexia wanted to help in the investigation. This was something that Midgar would want to look into. After all, there were a lot of things surrounding the death of Archbishop Drake that didn't really sit well with them. And Alexia was even going to be leading her own squad of Crimson Knights. Far different from Dark Knights, of course. You could say that Crimson Knight was a title or a level above your average Dark Knight. But the difference was that the Crimson Knights were an entirely different sect that served under the 12 Knights of Round. You could almost see where the ladder of succession was starting to move, at least as far as hierarchy goes in this world. First, you had your Dark Knights, but given your right circumstance, a Dark Knight could become anything. A Dark Knight could pursue any sort of career or any sort of job field in any province or any form of military, but usually the really good ones got into the Crimson Knights. And from the Crimson Knights, if you were strong and capable enough, you could then potentially move up to the 12 Knights of Round, assuming you were powerful enough to even challenge for a spot. That's what made the exceptions to the rules, the 4 new recruits in Laura, Helena, Jessica, and Tara, so special. The fact that they were still students at Midgar Academy and were able to make the jump from not even a graduate Dark Knight all the way to the 12 Knights of Round. It was something that hadn't even been heard of, and many thought that it came from a level of nepotism more than anything else, which wouldn't be hard to see why. After all, Jessica came from the Yellow Lantern Academy from the Oa province and had been given special interest by Hal Jordan, the leader of the Yellow Lanterns. Laura and Helena, respectively, came from 2 family members who were literally a part of the League. The only one that seemed to be the odd one of the bunch was Tara, but even then, her power spoke for itself, even if she was just a second year. But that was how life worked. More often than not, it wasn't about what you could do. More so, it was about who you knew. But having a strong bit of power and skill never hurt either. For Kagenou, his attention was pulled everywhere. Even so, when he found out that Beta, who was going by a different name, Natsume, it was something she did on the side. When he was talking about his old world, he told them stories, if you will. Things like Star Wars or novels like Romeo and Juliet, Shakespearean, so on and so forth. Well, surprisingly enough, there was no equivalent to that in this world. So she took those stories that she learned and, well, turned it into a profit, which Kagenou wasn't going to look at as a bad thing. In fact, if there was one advantage that this world had over others, it was that for all the similarities, there were plenty of differences. There were a lot of things that this world didn't have. If he could introduce things that wouldn't be a threat but could still be marketable, then that could go miles to building his funds, not just in Midgar, but potentially other countries as well. He could liquidate his assets and truly grow in wealth. The possibilities were endless. But for now, he had to keep his attention focused. There was his rendezvous with Alpha that he'd have to get on when he got the chance, as well as his dealings with Alexia. She was going to be overseeing the investigation of the Archbishop's death, and as such, she had come to Kagenou for help. It all started while they were staying at a royal inn, and there happened to be a mixed bath, a hot springs to be more specific. As Kagenou made himself comfortable, not even paying any attention to his girlfriend Alexia, who was conveniently there as well. "So, I guess you don't believe in common courtesy, do you?" Alexia would say to him. "Common courtesy? This is a mixed bath. And besides, I have more manners than the average boy, so you have nothing to worry about." "Who says I was worried? I mean, you and I are a couple after all. Who says that there's anything wrong with a couple sharing a mixed bath? It's perfectly fine and natural. I'm pretty sure that you're already smitten with me. There's no way you couldn't be. Although, I must give you credit for your restraint. The fact that your eyes don't oogle me every minute. Yeah, it's almost like you are the perfect consummate gentleman." "Oh, don't get the wrong idea. I'm far from perfect, after all. Like you said, you wouldn't like me if I was." "You're right about that. And I take notice of you all the time. It's just that I don't have to keep my eyes on you forever. I have a great mind and memory. If I want to recall something about you, I can do it at my own discretion." "Is that so? Based off of what you've seen, will you be thinking of me later?" "Oh, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's not like you're a mind reader, so how could you possibly tell? If I wanted to learn the spell for it, I could. I could delve deep into your mind, learn all of your secrets." "I highly doubt that. My mind is like an iron fortress. You could learn every sort of telepathic magic that you want. You'd still never learn the full depths about me. Is there something that you're hiding?" "Of course I am. I'm hiding a lot of things. After all, no one goes through life saying everything about themselves. We all have secrets, don't we? Including you. What if I looked inside of your mind? What would I see? Not much. That in and of itself is a lie." "Oh, so you think I'm not truthful when I'm around you? Mister, I only asked you out because it was a bet?" "Well, I don't know. Mrs., I knew he was only asking me out because of a bet, but I still said yes anyway." "And you wanted me to say yes." "Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. The only thing I know for certain is that you said yes to me. I was just trying to make you feel better." "Well, I feel perfectly fine now. Do you want to call it quits?" "Absolutely not. I don't plan on letting you out of my sight." "Why is that? Afraid you can't live 1 second without me?" "I could live forever without seeing you again. I just choose not to." "Sounds like you're dependent." You wish. You know, Sid, sometimes you can think far too highly of yourself." "No, I think of myself just high enough. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I don't think low of myself enough." "Low of yourself?" "I'm as low as it comes. I'm as low to the ground as the ground could be. In fact, I'm beneath it. I'm all the way under the dirt. I'm farther than 6 feet deep. More like 600. Why think so lowly? I hate a man that seeks pity. It's not about seeking pity. I just have no great qualms or any great ambition in my life. Nothing special, nothing worth note." "So, you're a man with no ambition." "No, but I don't really think I need to be." "And why is that?" "Because the world has more than enough ambition. Why should I add to it? Instead, why don't I help someone else's ambitions?" I think I have a way you can do that." "Oh?" "Become a Crimson Knight." "A Crimson Knight? Wow. Then you must really have lofty goals for me. Oh, come on, don't act like you're not capable. You may only perform the basics with me, but your skills are far more than you're letting on. I don't understand why you allow for people to walk all over you. Sure, you might not be as good as your sister. Alexia stopped herself in that moment. It almost felt like she was talking about herself. Kagenou could sense this instantly. He merely rolled his eyes. Don't stop on my account. You don't have to remind me. I already know. I'm completely aware. I'm nowhere near what my sister is. And personally, I'm fine with that. I have no need for the fame or the spotlight. Especially in our family, she has to carry that burden. Then what exactly do you want, Sid? What do I want? I guess if I truly wanted anything, I want to be strong enough to enact change. What do you even mean by that? Well, I make no qualms about it. I don't think that I'm strong enough to do anything like rule the world, get to the highest level of the food chain. No, nothing like that. But I want to be able to enact change in life, even if it means helping someone else accomplish their goals or ambitions. If I can help someone else achieve something, then I feel like I've made a change. Is that so? What if I... What? What if I wanted your help? My help? It's with this investigation. My sisters allowed me to look into the death of the Archbishop Drake. I have a feeling that Archbishop Nelson is behind it. But because he was elected in terms of emergency power, he wants to cease the audit, or at least have it be reconvened with my father, the king. I see. And you're worried that you'll have to go all the way back home to get the proper legislation in order. And by the time you come back, all of the evidence will be gone. You seem to read my mind pretty well. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's common sense. You have to be a complete idiot not to see it. But I understand. And you're worried that if you go snooping around, you're going to get in trouble and ruin your reputation. Because we are dealing with a holy man. You don't want to do anything to bring down the name of your family now, do you? So that's why you want me to get involved, huh? You want me to play as the third party in all of this. Someone with plausible deniability. A little difficult if I'm your boyfriend, wouldn't you say? I think that you're good enough not to get caught. And I'm not asking you to do anything irreprehensible. I just need you to look around and see what you can find. They're not going to suspect you. You'd be the last person on their radar. All right, then. I won't join your Crimson Knights, but if it's for the aid of my beautiful girlfriend, I can't really refuse now, can I? Good boy. Honestly, if only your worm were as impressive as your loyalty to me. First off, I can be surprisingly loyal for the right price. And second of all, don't go underestimating my worm. Or Excalibur, I should say. Excalibur? I think you had it right the first time with worm. Well, there's an old saying in my world. Looks can be deceiving, and things don't always appear what they seem to be at first sight. What you might think is a worm, as Sid Kagenou got up, it could actually be a holy Excalibur that hasn't been removed from its sheath. And with an Excalibur of this magnitude, well, it's good for penetrating through holy walls. Kagenou slapped a towel around his waist as he made his way back to his room, Alexia quickly grabbing her towel and chasing after him. Now, because this is a family-friendly channel, as the author, I can personally tell you nothing indecent happened between the two of them. Nothing that would be unbecoming of adolescence coming into bloom. They remained chaste, but lips were connected, and there was some exploration, and it got pretty hot, I won't lie. But that's neither here nor there. If you want to get into something like that, then go look up a fanfic online after dark. Anywho, the day of the goddess trial would be upon them. Kagenou had his request from Alexia. He was going to be investigating into this Archbishop Nelson or whoever he was. This could potentially lead to some information that he was looking for regarding any dealings with the League. Perhaps they had their hands involved, or it could have been the Cult of Diablos. You could take your pick. Anyone could be involved at this point. It seemed like everyone had some secret, shadowy organization these days. In the meantime, though, among those in the crowd, Beta, aka Natsume, going by her surname and pseudonym, along with Alexia, for Beta, as a loyal server to Shadow, she didn't take too kindly to him having a girlfriend. Sure, as he put it, it was for the greater good of the mission, but greater good of the mission, my ass. As far as Beta was concerned, Alexia was nothing more but a spoiled elf princess who had no business being in the presence of her great and mighty Shadow, the DeathStroke. Someone blessed in many ways. He needed a real woman, not some poser, chauvinistic, beauty mark on the chin looking ass. Well, safe to say the two girls did not get along at all, and you could easily tell, seeing as how they kept stepping on each other's foot. As the goddess trial would begin, Diana, along with Thomas Wayne Jr., were both sitting in their exclusive press boxes along with their protégés, while sitting out amongst the crowd was Gar along with Tara. You could say that they were on a date of sorts, although it was officially 12 nights of round business, but Iris encouraged them to have a good time while staying vigilant. The goddess trial in question was an ancient tradition held once a year. It was something so special that you had to get a booking in advance. You had to pay a great toll of money, but it was for the opportunity of a lifetime, potentially a fatal one, though. You see, within the goddess trial, there lied a special sanctuary that once a year would open. Any warrior that paid his fee could step forward. The sanctuary in question would open itself to a gateway to the other side. Yes, it called upon the ghost of warriors, heroes, and men and women of great power all the same. If you were able to win your battle against a legendary warrior, you would be given a great reward, a medal of honor, along with the fame and the notoriety that came with it, with the status of being able to enter into any knighthood of any country. You could say that you would become a knight among knights, and there would be no shortage of work. Or, for that matter, opportunity. Everything would be at your fingertips, at your discretion to do as you wish. In fact, In terms of where you would stand if you actually completed the goddess trial, at least in terms of Midgar standing, a successful winner of the goddess trial would be considered on the same level as one of the 12 Knights of Round, and they were just a tier below the Justice League. So you could imagine how big of a deal it was to win one of these things. For Kagenou, he was walking around through the concession stands. He did promise Alexia that he would look into that Archbishop Nelson guy. Perhaps he could get a couple members from Shadow Garden to do it. They'd be able to handle a job just as well as he could, and they'd probably uncover a lot more, since they'd be looking even more narrowly than he would think to. Although, if he put his mind to it, he's sure to have uncovered the evidence. It wouldn't take long. Though, you could imagine his surprise when he heard his name through the announcement speaker. At first, he hardly paid it any mind because Sid Kagenou, the name of some background guy. Poor unlucky sap, getting saddled up into fighting the undead and... Wait a minute. He's the sap. Of course, this was all done by Rose, who was looking to impress her father, who was also in attendance, hoping to show that Sid Kagenou had a lot of potential, and the potential of being a future marriage partner. Well, safe to say, Alexia did not take too kindly to this, as she slowly turned her head over to Rose, who had a blissful smile on her face. Alexia was prepared to give her more than an earful. Who in the hell did she think she... Signing up my Sid. My Sid? And she wasn't the only one, because Beta was also pissed. Or Natsume, whatever you choose to call her. For the sake of the story, we're just going to call her Beta, but we all know she's not actually Beta to them. Safe to say, you couldn't have a more explosive powder keg. 3 women, all with their own affections for the boy, for varying reasons, and only one of them was the official girlfriend. For Kagenou, this left him in a rather precarious situation. He could not get involved, besmirch the name of his school and get expelled. He could get involved and get exposed. Neither of these options seemed good. But then again, there was always a third option. A black flame jutting out from the sky above. A figure clad in black. A mask half darkened. The other one that shimmered like the sun. For Alexia, she knew who it was instantly. Beta, while she couldn't show it, she was obviously aware. And for everyone else, the rumored miscreant, DeathStroke the Shadow, had made his arrival. I hope you don't mind, but I think I would like to take my hand at this trial. DeathStroke would point his sword towards the door of the sanctuary, beckoning for his champion to come forth. Another aura would emanate from the sanctuary, and from out of its doors, 2 beings would emerge. First, a woman, clad in black. Though few could recognize her, she was the famed witch, Aura, the Witch of Calamity. However, she would not be his opponent. So you don't plan to face me then? While I would love to test my strength against you, I am only here as an escort. There is actually someone else who would wish to converse with you. Converse? Kagenou would smile under his mask. In the field of battle, There was only one way you had conversation, through the trading of blows and the clash of fist and sword. Another being tall and brooding would stand behind her, one that Kagenou was vaguely familiar with, but to many, they knew who this was. Up in the skybox, Helena's hands covered her mouth, a shocking gasp that who had emerged. For Thomas Wayne Jr., a cold sweat ran down his brow. Baby brother. For Diana, this couldn't be. Of all people, why was he here? So, you are who my powers have summoned. For what it's worth, I truly find it an honor to face you. Batman, the Betrayer. The crowd fell deathly silent. The scorned hero, the one whose name was spoken of only in taboo, the one believed to be the blight of Midgar, who was said to have betrayed the Justice League and his country, killed by his brother in penance, now walking about in the world of the living. Bruce Wayne, or better yet, Batman, the Betrayer, as he prepared to do battle with DeathStroke, the Shadow. This concludes The Eminence and Shadow, No More Heroes. What if Sid Kagenou was Deathstroke? Season 1, Part 7. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue with The Eminence and Shadow, No More Heroes. What if Sid Kagenou was Deathstroke? Season 1, Part 8. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.